All right. Okay, wait for 5 seconds. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to a new One Punch Man: The Strongest video. And so we're gonna do this tier list a little different because we're just gonna update the previous one. This is from June 2025, and so yeah. Well, so we're mostly gonna start with what changes and then get into the new characters. What mostly changes here is PimguOPM. I'm gonna drop down to A. Now, this is because while he does support Child Emperor's core quite, a lot, he falls off during Gyro core and is essentially unusable after that, because he was only there for the support of Child Emperor's core. After that, Mosquito Girl will drop down to C tier because, I hate her. But on a real note, she just isn't particularly useful. I'd say high B. God damn. She isn't particularly useful. She did get a buff, but I don't think she's gonna be doing enough. I'm gonna move him above him, or him above PimguOPM. After that, Sonic will move down to A tier. Bottom of A. I mean, he's still great for his energy, and he's good for the burn and the energy seal, but he's super outdated. Siryu and Middlebat, still very good characters, and I'm actually gonna move Middlebat up to S, the top of S, mostly because of the stat bonus that you'll get for your Middlebat V2. After that, must-have, Koketsu is going to leave the list. No, he's gonna be high S. Now, this is mostly because he can be really good for Team 2. However, he's far out of meta, so he's not a must-have anymore. After that, Genos and Flashy Flash are also going to move down to S as well. This is mostly just, again, they're out of meta, not incredibly important anymore, and they get replaced with other better DPS. Zombie Man is going to be removed from main team and go drop down to must-have. Still great for Team 2. However, a lot of his effects have been countered. And while he is still currently the fastest speedster in Southeast Asia, he is soon to not be in, or he is already not inside of CN. So do keep that in mind. Alloy, Deep Sea King, and Metal Knight, those are going to stay there. That is just because they were all free at one point. Actually, maybe not DSK. DSK wasn't free, but Metal Knight, or Alloy and Metal Knight were both free at one point, and DSK you can still get from purple tickets. So, I mean, I'd still say they're very good, and actually a must for a lot of teams, or at least a must to have. Boros is going to drop down from must have to S. Now, while you should still have this, he isn't, or Boros isn't going to be super needed anymore. Well, he's going to be like a Team 3 core, pretty much. And with that, Child Emperor is going to move down to must-have, and Deep Sea King is going to move to a high S. I'm actually going to probably drop Galewind and, let's say, Siryu, actually. Galewind and Siryu. Siryu's even more outdated than Metalbat and Hellfire, and Galewind is simply, like, the third fastest speedster, so meh. With that, Fubuki is also going to drop down to a must-have, higher than Zombie Man. Zombie Man's actually going to go to the bottom of must-have. Now, this is because she's not a main team unit anymore. Probably going to be replaced with PimguOPM once he comes out, and then when he leaves, when Gyro Core comes out, he'll drop down from main team. But this is more like a future projection list and not, on target. I'm actually going to remove the Godly tier just because it isn't particularly useful in this case scenario. And he's going to be moved to main team. Top of main team even. Like, he generally makes or breaks teams. After that, these two, or at least Carnage Kabuto does kind of stay in the team, I would imagine. He's still the best monster unit in the game. Except for maybe Sonic, or even maybe Gyro. But one's a core and one's a speedster. So, really, Carnage is still probably best in the game for monster. Drive Knight's going to drop down to must-have. You don't really need him anymore, and you don't need to have him in your team. So that's actually the most of the updates to the old tier list before getting into the new characters. Now, this does change quite a lot, actually. There's been a lot of changes since June. Just, it's been, 2 months, almost 3. And the meta has changed a lot in that time. Now, getting into the new characters, Sonic is going to go to main team. Now, this is just because he's insane. He lowers, I think, the team's damage taken. I can't remember if he increases damage dealt. I don't think he does, though. No, he does. He increases damage dealt, but only in PvP, and increases damage, or lowers damage taken, also only in PvP. Now, if we're ignoring PvP, he honestly kind of drops below Zombie Man. I mean, his ult is decently strong, and he also gives all allies specialized acceleration. But that's a whole speedster thing. That's not, you don't really need that for most characters. So he's gonna drop down a bit, but main team for the most part. Now, Metal Bat is also gonna go into main team. This is because he's essentially meta in PvP, and his damage is also insane. He follows up, he does, whatever, if your team loses. So, for example, turn 6, Garo finally dies, Metal Bat comes in, and he wrecks your shit. Because after all your teammates are dead, he comes back, and he starts following up, and he starts hitting, and he starts doing a shit ton of damage. So he's essentially a necessity, especially a Garo versus him. He's going to generally win against Garo, especially turn 6 and onward. Now, what's also very important, Guro. Honestly, probably second highest in main team. Guro is insane. His core, which he is the next core character, which is why he's in the main team, is nutty. His damage isn't crazy. He does have lock though, which does stop follow-ups. Not only that, but he also makes true damage work against non-crit damage reduction and specialized evasion work. So specialized evasion and non-crit damage reduction now will work against true damage, which does and has the possibility to lower the shit out of Carnage Kabuto and Garo. Now, also Drive Knight and Genos and all the other characters that deal true damage that I don't feel like naming at the moment. Now with that, I could see Carnage Kabuto dropping down to a must-have, and maybe Fubuki and maybe a who else? Fubuki and maybe Flashy Flash could come back. Because you do need 2 Espers and then a Duelist and a Grappler. Now, the last slot I'd say is kind of a filler. You could use Drive Knight. You could use any of the must-haves, honestly, to fill that slot right there. You could even use some of the S tiers if you need to. But overall, these guys are main team, and then everybody else is kind of secondary. Guro's core is nuts. I could even see G4 being good with him, because not only does Guro do dot, but also his core applies dot, which is kind of insane, especially a very strong DOT. So overall, that's going to be the update to the list. Most of this is just mild changes, or very severe changes, and Fubuki, I think, is only up here because she is a good AoE DPS. Other than that, Carnage could win, but you need to have at least 2 Espers. So, maybe use someone like Pig God or King, maybe? It's honestly hard to say. The Fubuki is just a very easily accessible Esper that a lot of people did pull. Or you could even use Mosquito Girl. I kind of don't think so, but you could. But yeah, so overall, that is the updated tier list. If you'd like to see the old one, here, let me just pull up the old one here. So here's the old tier list versus the new. Yeah, so new core, new speedster, all that jazz. Anyways, I hope you guys all enjoyed today's One Punch Man the Strongest video. If you did enjoy, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Join the Discord server in the description down below, and if you'd like to support me, please share the channel around. So yeah, I hope you guys all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!